our threats with the Russians, the Georgia invasion, the stock market collapse, all of this is all engineered.
So tell us about it. So tell us about Georgia, because, okay, to get back to, I know you know the guy who's head of, or was head of, the Arlington Institute. They are sending out a newsletter saying, inviting people to tell them what dreams and visions they're having about October, because October has become such a hot month in tracking. There's something called Half Past Human. Have you heard of them?
In passing, just
they're doing, you know, they do language. They track with Webots all over the internet, basically tracking where a language is going. They've been doing it since '98 with computers and so on, and they were able to chart, like before 9/11, this huge raise in consciousness, that some event was imminent. What they're getting from October is the same thing, only something even more long range in its effect.
Well, I have a tremendous respect for John Peterson. He's brilliant.
All right.
I've known him
so
for
if
some years.
Arlington Institute is suddenly asking for people's dreams and visions about October, why are they doing it?
Marcia is more in touch with John now than I am. He's a computer person, you know.
I understand.
I won't touch the damn thing because, as I told you earlier, I enjoy my privacy. And if you're on the World Wide Web, you don't have any privacy.
Okay,
so anyhow,
I agree with you there. So, okay, but you know him, and here I'm just basically, you're saying this thing is engineered. So what happened in Georgia? What do you know about it?
Oh, it was all engineered.
Okay, so the Russians, you know, were tipped off.
The president of Georgia did what he did just to lure the Russians in.
Right.
And he went in. The Russians could not have ignored him, for God's sake. He invaded one of their little, well...
So what's the purpose behind it, though? We know what happened, but why?
I think, what could the purpose be other than to detract people's attention from this over here to this over here?
Okay, and
while
this
our economy was falling around your knees, we're all paying attention to the Russians invading poor little Georgia. Okay. Well, the Russians didn't invade poor little Georgia. They went out and whacked the president of Georgia's little pee-pee, as it were, stopped that, and they pulled back, you know.
Right.
That was, you know how the magician works? He gets you in front of his, you know, he's doing this with this hand while he's picking your pocket with this one.
That's right.
And that's what the government is doing. And when I say government, it's not the government you think you got. It's not the, you know, God, that's all a facade in itself. The government we've got is probably being totally run by the Anunnaki, because there is a power beyond power that's pulling the strings.
Right.
They call them the Illuminati, but there are guys above the Illuminati that are really in power.
Okay, but we're told the Vatican is behind a lot of it, and that in other words, the Vatican is behind what's going on in the U.S., that there's a plan, and you've got the Anunnaki. This is not a positive plan, okay, to take down the U.S.
Well, they think it is.
Do you think it is?
Their ultimate idea is, yes, a positive idea.
Okay, what is it?
A one-world government.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Of course that's what they want.
Right.
And they're going to have it eventually.
Absolutely. Now, you can have a positive one,
but the growing
pains, right?
The growing pains that we go through before we get there, it's going to be pretty horrendous. Not only are we going to have to put up with this crap with Nibiru, which is a real thing, but this growing process that we're going through to end up eventually with a one-world government is going to be painful as hell. And there's going to be a lot of blood on the streets before it's over with. Sadly enough, that's in my opinion a fact. And that's being manipulated from a very high level.
Okay, but we have white hats in the U.S. government that are actually trying to prevent this, are they not?
We have some good men and good women who are well aware of what's taking place and what's transpiring, and they're trying to modify, ameliorate, is that the right word? To make this growth pain as painless as possible. They're trying to not have as much blood as it might take. Growth from adolescence as a species and as a society is somewhat like the painful growth of an adolescent kid, 13 years old, who's trying to grow up. Do you remember when you went through that? It was
Sure.
not fun time.
Absolutely. So, okay, but let's get down to the nuts and bolts. The stock market is crashing.
Mm-hmm.
You need to invest in gold and silver
The
if you want to
stock
stay
market
alive.
was rotten to its core.
Absolutely. But are you telling people to leave, to go to South America?
No,
What's your advice?
I'm telling people that you're in for some difficult times. And I say this in my presentations. I jokingly look at them and say, you're all doomed. There's not a one of you that's going to be around 100 years from now. You're doomed. So to hell with it. Enjoy the ride. No, I tell people who are interested in listening for whatever it is I have to say, that you're in for some difficult times. It's going to happen. There is no way to avoid it. We cannot go on as we were, because some of our systems were rotten to the core, and our banking system, the insurance programs, all of that, stock market, Wall Street, those guys were absolutely rotten.
The housing industry?
The housing industry, that was bound to fail. You talk about a bubble, it was bound to fail. It had to fail. Well, I'm glad it failed. Hope to hell that they learned something from it. Now,
Okay, but are we talking about martial law in the United States? I mean, what are we talking here?
you're talking about a time when you may have martial law. It's only one step away. You know that the authority has been given to the president to declare it.
Right.
Congress gave that authority to the president years ago. I've even lost track of how long it's been. But anyhow, all the president has to do, whoever he may be, and that doesn't matter much anymore either, because one nitwit is very much like the other. You have a national emergency, and it's declared.
Right.
Boom. Martial law. You declare a national emergency, which has not been declared yet,
Right.
but we're right on the edge of it,
Right.
and you're going to have martial law.
Okay,
and
but
you're
we
gonna-
don't have an election, right?
Well, you're thinking about an October surprise.
I have no idea. I'm asking you.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm not sure it'll happen in October. I suspect it may occur within the next year. But I don't know. I haven't had any dreams. My dreams have been pretty fascinating recently, but none of them have been terribly troubling. And I know this is all happening. It's going to take place. It's inevitable. It's been orchestrated. The Illuminati do exist. They are in power. They've been in power for years. They've been demonstrating that power ever since 1913, when they created the hell is it, this banking system? The
Federal Reserve.
Federal Reserve, yeah, which is a private corporation. We lost most of it in 47. I don't know whether you were aware of that, but that was a big year. National security became everything. It became the member of the triad. 47, we declared, we made the National Security Agency. We formed a pact with the Brits, the Australians, the Canadians, and New Zealanders.